In the YByte Python programming course available at www.ybyte.in, students build interesting activities as they learn programming, and once they are through with the basics, they look at enhancements. Now, in this video, we look at one enhancement of the shopping cart game where we give discounts, but notice here, I'm not offering one static rate of discount. In fact, I'm offering user a progressively increasing discount. So for example, if the user spends 1,000 rupees in this case, 10% discount, 1500 rupees, 20% discount, 2000 rupees, 30% discount, and so on. Let's see how this works. Let's say the user chooses say three, and so I give all the options. So maybe I add I add milkshakes. Notice my total order went above 2000, which was what I wanted to do, and I gave my user a good 30% discount. In order to enhance our project from the basic discount scheme to this progressive discount, there are three changes we must do, and we will look at them in this video. The first enhancement relates to the fact that now we have multiple discount rates, and we must then decide at what level of spend do we want to offer these discounts. Now, one can be a little bit random about it, but it's better to be smart, which means that what we will do is that we will find out for every discount rate what is the level at which giving discount makes sense from the shop's point of view, which means that the extra amount of money that the user spends is more than the discount that we are going to offer. We have looked at this elsewhere, and this loop here does it for us. The only change that's going to happen now is that we are going to convert this discount rate into a list, because now we are looking at multiple discounts, and we are going to put this entire code inside a for loop that iterates over these discount rates. Let's see this first, because this will naturally lead us to the second code enhancement. So I come in here, like I said, I'm going to convert this into a list, DCT rate. So I just call it say DCT list. And this, for example, I want to try 10, 20, and say 30%, 30% discounts. So I have to be careful. This has to be a comma. So I want to try these three discounts, and hence I make this into a list. Now I also create another list here called next 500 list, because now remember, next 500 is no longer a single number. In fact, for every discount value, we have a next 500 where we want to offer the discount. So I just create an empty list here right now. Next 500, I also call it say underscore list, is an empty list. Now, like I said, I'm going to iterate over all the discount values. So I'm going to just run a for loop to say for JJ in range, say len of DCT list, because I really want to go over every discount value. I come in here and I say DCT rate equals to DCT list JJ, because remember, I just want to run it for every discount, and hence I'm assigning to a variable called DCT rate. And once having done this, I'm going to just take this entire code and I'm going to just give it one tap so that this whole thing comes inside the whole thing comes inside, let's say, inside this for loop, and we basically do it for every value of DCT rate that we're looking at. I'm just going to set kk equals to 1 at the beginning of this while loop, so that the loop keeps running correctly. Also, I'm going to keep track of what is the next 500 value for every discount rate, and for that purpose I'm using this list next 500 list. So I'm just going to say next 500 underscore list dot append, and what I'll be appending is basically next 500. Now notice here that notice the indentation here. This statement here is inside the for loop, which means that it happens once for every discount rate, and what we expect is that this list will contain the value, the multiple of 500 at which we'll be offering, for example, 10% discount, 20% discount, 30% discount, and so on. Now, to understand this a little bit better, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to print this next 500 list, so that we know what's going on in this code. So I just go and say next 500 list. Notice I'm printing this outside the for loop because I've undone the indentation. So this entire for loop is going to run, and then I'm printing, which means I expect to see the entire, let's say, next 500 list, right? So let's see if I run this code. For example, I say one, I want to say 2 units. I want to purchase, say, chocolate. I want to say 4 units. Now, if I check out, notice something very, very interesting happen, and this is what will lead us to the second enhancement. But first, let's understand what's going on. So remember, my total order was 559. I went through this calculation and I found out that the next 500 list is 1000, 1000, 1000. So what it means is that from the point of view of keeping our discount smart, for the point of view of keeping our user to spend more than the discount we offer, whether it's 10%, 20%, or 30%, it turns out that 1000 is actually a good number. However, it is very strange for us to imagine that we are offering 10% discount if I spend 1000 rupees, 20% discount if I offer 1000 rupees, or 30% discount if I offer 1000 rupees, because that doesn't make sense. So what I need to do is to change this list a little bit. So I'll say, okay, look, I can offer you 10% discount at 1000 rupees. That's all right. But if you want 20% discount, maybe you should spend 1500. If you want say 30% discount, you should go and spend, say, for example, 2000. What that means is that we are going to have to adjust this list so that this kind of situation is avoided and we are in a more logical situation. Let's see how we do this. Now, really, the requirement is that we want to make sure that the list items in this list, next 500 list, are strictly increasing, because only then it makes sense, right? That I'm offering, basically, I'm offering lesser discount if the user spends lesser. I'm offering more discounts if the user spends higher. But many times the situation could be that, for example, I end up in 15, 2000, 2000, or like I just did 1000, 1000, 1000. So what I'm going to do is that if this situation happens, I'm going to have to change this list, for example, to 1500, 2000, and 2500. Let's see the logic that we are going to use to do this. It's quite interesting in its own right. And that will be the second code enhancement. What we are really doing, like I said, is that we want to make sure that this list, next 500 list, is strictly increasing. I can do that in multiple steps. All I really need to do is to compare, for example, item 0 to item 1. So item 0 to item 1. If in this case, for example, 1500, 2000, everything looks okay, I don't need to do anything. I can move on to the next items. Next, I compare item 1 and item 2. I find that item 1 and item 2 are equal. This is something strange. So what I will do is that I will increase item 2 by 500. If I did that, notice I'm in the right place. I mean, I'm in the right directions, because this is 1500, 2000, then 2500. But then I compare item 2 and item 3. If these two are equal, I will go and increase item 3, and I'll end up with this final list where, if I had 4 discount, for example, to be discounts to be offered, then it's progressively increasing. User spends more, gets more discount, which is logical. Now, how we do this in code is actually quite interesting. What we will do is that we will run a for loop, but we will not run it all the way from 0. In fact, I'm using range 1 till the length. And really, it's exactly what we are doing here. We are comparing, for example, item 1 to item 0, which means that we are comparing item kk. Kk is, remember, the counter variable, to item kk minus 1. So remember, kk is going from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So I'm really saying, okay, look, if item kk, which is item 1, is less than or equal to item 0, then I need to do something, because item kk has to be more than item kk minus 1. And I can fix that by saying that I'm going to increase item kk by item kk minus 1 plus 500. Now, why is this correct? Why does, this may be a little bit confusing, but really think about it. If this condition is true, it means that there are two situations. One situation is item kk minus 1 is more than item kk, which is a problem. If I go and put item kk to item kk minus 1 plus 500, I will be ensured that my item kk is more than item kk minus 1 at the end of this change. If these two are equal, again, the same thing holds. So basically, this code will ensure that at the end of it, my list will have a strictly increasing, next 500 values, so that I can offer discounts in a more meaningful and reasonable manner. Let's see this in code. So I come in here. Remember, my next 500 list has been created previously. I just go and use a counter variable again. So I can just use kk, because kk's job is over here. So in this, I can use kk in range 1. Now notice this 1 is important, because I'm comparing kk to kk minus 1. So I do not want it to start from 0. I want it to, in fact, start from 1. So I'm going to say kk in the range 1 to say next underscore 500 underscore list. And what I do is that I say, okay, if say next 500 list, say kk, is say less than or equal to next 500 underscore list, say kk minus 1. So I need to give a semicolon over there. What I will do is that I'll just make next 500 list KK to be next 500 list KK minus 1 plus 500. Now notice the intention is to get a strictly increasing, um, a list of strictly increasing numbers, and that's why we are doing this. Think through this carefully. One thing I do want to highlight is that this 500 is not a magic number. It's I'm doing this because my entire code is working in multiples of 500. But if your code you think is better placed to work, let's say multiples of 5000 or say any other number, then you just have to accordingly modify the code. But if I did this, and in the same example, if I, let's say, go and print, let's say again, next, say 500 list. Now let's run this whole thing again. So now when I run this, I get, for example, I want to buy 2 units of milkshake, 4 units of chocolate. If I say 6, then notice my list, which was previously 1000, has now been adjusted, and now I have 1000, 1500, and 2000. We have seen the working of this code graphically previously. Basically, we compare this and this. I increase this second element. I compare second element and third element. I increase the third element. And that's exactly what is going on here. And now it's sensible that I can offer 10% discount for 1000 rupees, 20% discount for 1500, 30% discount for 2000. And remember, these are all smart choices because the extra amount user is going to spend is guaranteed to be more than the discount we are offering. Having done this, now we are ready to make the third part of changes, the third part of the enhancement. Now that relates to really telling the user and getting user's preference, which means that we are going to have to modify these print statements a little bit and make them a little bit more, let's say, conducive to the present implementation. Let's see how we do this. Now, broadly, the idea is quite straightforward. I'm going to tell the user that, okay, look, we have some offers for you. And in this case, rather than telling the user that you need it, if you spend this much, you're going to get, say, 10% discount. We are going to list down, for example, if you spend, maybe next 500 list, say 0, you're going to get discount list 0 discount, and so on and so forth. Notice this is a for loop running on the discount list. We can also run it on next 500 list, but the idea here really is that we are printing out for how much expenditure I am going to get a discount of how much percentage. So, no matter how many options there are, I'm going to get a list of options. Since there are more than one options, we don't ask the user just directly if he or she wants a discount or not. In fact, we want to know also what discount would the user want. So I go and modify my discount wanted, to say DW. I just made it concise for easier writing. Previously, I was using this as a string, but now I'll use it as an integer. And I'm saying, okay, look, enter 1, 2, or 3, select a preference or any other number to not avail the discount. And notice if the user does enter 1, 2, or 3, then because this is an integer, I can use this to index into my two lists. So what I do is that I find how much is the extra spend the user must do, which is gap 500, and how much is the discount rate I'm going to offer, which comes from the discount list. Notice it makes a lot of sense, very logical. Because these lists are all in sync with each other. So next 500 list and discount list are in sync with each other. Finally, if the user prefers to not avail the discount, well, he can definitely put, say, 4 or 0 or whatever. Any number which can be converted to integer but is not 1, 2, or 3 will bring the user to else side. We just say proceed to checkout, and we do that by saying discount rate is equal to 0. Of course, as we do this, there'll be a few other changes, but let's go through this in the code and do it slowly. So I come in here, I tell the user, hey, look, we have some options for you. So we can remove this print 500 list, or maybe let it be here because it's good to see it. So I just give it, say, print, and I say print, we have some offers for you. And we must tell the user what the offers are. So, for doing that, I'm just going to put an extra print. Now remember, the offers will be printed as a for loop because there are, in this case, for example, 3 offers. So we want to keep the code a little bit concise. It's much like printing the shopping cart and all the other messages that we have been giving. So I just say, for example, for KK in range, for example, say len of DCT underscore list. Now this can also be the next 500 list. That's not a problem. And I tell my user that, look, what I want to print is convert this to a string because KK is an integer. I'm going to convert this to a string KK plus 1 because I want this to be printed as, say, 1 dot 2 dot and so on and so forth. Say dot, And I can give, for example, let's say purchase for say INR, um, say comma, next 500 list KK. Now remember, this is indexing to the next 500 list, and if I did that to get a discount, so maybe to get a, let's say, to get a DCT underscore list KK, and here percent discount. I mean, this is quite straightforward. Notice basically KK is an index. I'm looking at the two lists and indexing those entries in there, right? Now, let's just see this working before we move forward. I run this code. For example, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, and I say 6. Notice this time around, it prints the two lists because I've not yet removed those prints. And it then says, okay, look, you have these three offers, 1,000 rupees to get 10% discount, 1,500 to get 20% discount, and so on and so forth. Now, like I said, I'm going to change the way I ask my users, let's say consent, or let's say the preference. So I'm going to make this a little bit more concise. I'll just call it say DW equals to, and I'm going to convert this to an integer. And what we'll say is that, look, enter, say for example, enter 1, 2, or 3 to select your preference, any other number to say not avail a discount. Now you can clean up this message, make it a bit more, let's say, more, let's say, friendly or something like that. But here we're just focusing on the concept. So I convert this to an integer. I take users input. Again, nothing happens to the add quant list, but remember now this discount wanted is actually an input, which is actually an integer. So I'm going to say if DW is, let's say, 1, or DW is equal to 2. Again, notice it has to be two equal to's because we are searching here for we're testing here for equality. So if either of these condition comes true, then, well, we all we really have to do before we do any of this, now nothing of this has to change really. All we have to do is that I'm going to say, if since you wanted this discount, I'm going to say gap 500 is equal to say next 500 list, and I'm going to use item DW minus 1 because remember that is what the user wanted. So if the user wanted 2, for example, so in this case would be like he wants 20% discount, and this minus grand tot, because grand tot is what the user has previously spent. This tells me how much there is a gap, I mean how much more the user must spend to get to say the discount level. And also the DCT rate will be again DCT list say DW minus. So now with this done, in fact we can let everything be here. Only thing I'm going to change here is that once I come in to say okay, proceed to checkout, but if the user has selected something else which is not 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to say DCT underscore rate is equal to 0.0. So so that it kind of keeps working fine. Now having done this, I just have to make, I guess I don't want to override my DCT rate over here, so I comment this out. Again, this statement doesn't need to be in the if at all, in the if or else at all, because my discount can be computed anyway, since I have previously populated DCT rate to either 0 or say 10, 20, 30. And as far as I know, I think this is all we need to do. So let's see this working again. So I say, for example, 1, say 2, 3, 4, and now if I say 6, so it tells me you have three options. If you want 10% discount, spend 1,000 rupees, 20%, 1,500, and so on. Let's say I want the third option. So it tells me, okay, look, you have the following options. You can add 15 units of bill cake. I mean, obviously a lot because I have to spend 1,500 rupees extra. Let's say I indicate, 1 as my preference. I see that my shopping cart has been updated with extra, 15 quantities of milkshakes or 17 quantities of milkshake. My total bill went above, say, for example, 2000 rupees. My discount was indeed offered and everything worked just fine. But notice that I have now a lot of flexibility. Let's take one more example. Say I want to purchase this time two, say 3 units, four, say 5 units, and five, say 8 units. And now if I say I want to check out, so my bill comes to say 968. So remember, this is a smart discount scheme, so I don't necessarily just go to 1000. In fact, I tell 1500, 1500, 1500 for the 10, 20, 30%. But my lists gets adjusted. That's why when I print the messages, I tell 1500, 2000, and 2500 respectively to earn 10, 20, 30% discounts. Let's say I want 20% discount, so I say 2. Now in this case, it tells me what options I have. Say I go and add. Now previously I did not buy any milkshake, so let's just say I choose milkshake again. My milkshake gets added to the shopping cart. My bill goes above 2000 rupees as promised. But remember, to the discount now is only 20%. So okay, so I'm going to have to make one change. There's a small mistake here. We'll fix that. Discount should be 20%, and it's 400 rupees. Value is correct, and this is what happens. Right now, to fix this thing, I can just say, over here in this particular print, I can go and say discount, say DCT rate. Okay, DCT rate, and I think this is fine. Discount 10%. We can actually put this, let's say, in brackets so that I see this discount DCT rate 10% bracket is. So after percentage, I can put the bracket. I mean, these are all in some sense cosmetic. So now when I run this, I can try this. Let's say I try different values this time. Say 4. Say I buy a lot of this. Say I buy 5 and I buy say 12 units of this, so much more purchases. I say 6. So it turns out that I'm going to get 10%, 20%, 30% for 2000, 2500 and 3000 respectively. Let's say I want to avail discount of say 1%, no, or 10%. So this time round, I indicate my preference, say 3. My shopping cart gets printed, and this time indeed it printed 10% discount, and that's because I put a DCT rate here, and I think everything is working as correctly. I hope you found this useful. Go in a step-by-step manner. Try not to rush through this because lots and lots of code changes. You'll find that if you're systematic, it's logical, and you'll understand it a lot better. If you like this way of learning, if you find that these activities are interesting, do check out our website because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.